It's how nice is it to be back on the practice field after I know it's been a few tough months for you.
Still a little frustrating because I feel like I'm still being held back a little bit, but I understand why and the precautionary reasons. But I'm chomping at the bit. I'm ready to go. This is what I do, so I'm excited about getting back out there.
Aspect of not being on the field. I think there was during training camp. How has that been? Is it like amplified when you're missing regular season games?
Yeah, I would like to think that my growth over the years has allowed me to dive into more of my identity as a human being, more so than just a football player. But at the end of the day, I've been playing this sport for 23 years. And so a lot of my value that has been created over the course of those years as a human being has been wrapped up in football. And although I'm still working towards getting away from that unhealthy connection, it's still there. And so not being able to play and demonstrate my athleticism as a football player does come with its emotional issues.
When you talk about being frustrated that you feel like you're being held back, you've always been the guy who is, tried to outwork the room. How do you find a balance at this point in your career between knowing that you've already proven that and doing what's best for your body?
Yes, that's an internal battle, and I think because the NFL in general is a "what have you done for me lately" business, and so you constantly feel like you have to prove yourself. There's a pressure to prove yourself every day, whether it's on the football field or off the football field in the classroom. There's a constant pressure there. So, it is finding a balance and also the desire just to want to be out there with the guys. When you're out for so long, you kind of feel disconnected. You feel like the train is moving on without you. And so, just being the competitor that I am, I'm fighting every inch, scratching to get back to that point where the guys can trust me, they know me, and we're out there having fun.
When's the last time you had to miss a couple of games like this, or you've had to sit out this long of a period?
I've never sat out this long. The first time, I haven't missed games since my second year in the NFL, so it's been a very long time since I've had to overcome the injury obstacle. Of course, I've dealt with injuries throughout the course of those games that I've played, but nothing to the significance of where I had to miss time.
What's it been like for you during games as far as what's running through your head? Kind of, I guess, maybe a helplessness, and how do you fill that void, and how have you tried to?
You guys see where he's going with this? Writing's on the wall. Yeah, it is very frustrating, but the thing that I've been able to really focus on as I'm off the field is really focus on my empathic nature with the other players, especially the receivers. And so, just talking through the game plan with them, talking through the situations with them, talking through what's happening play by play with them when they come off the field. A lot of my energy and resources is spent on being empathic for them, so that I can give them something back, to help them throughout the course of the game. And sometimes, it shows itself in a number of ways.
You're begging the question. What was that about?
I knew you were going to ask it.
You just begged me
I
to.
knew you were going to ask it. It was empathy. That's what it was. I won't go into a great deal of detail, but essentially, it's frustrating when you start 0-2 and you start the way that we've started, and we've had some frustrating games. And especially as a receiving core, being here for so long and knowing the process, knowing what you guys are going to say, the questions that come up in our room, the receivers' room, and how that plays a role in just the emotional stability of the receivers. And then just, other things that come along with that. And so when they come off the field and they're telling me how they're feeling and they're expressing their emotions, and myself trying to be empathic to them in that regard, there's a lot of energy there. On top of the fact that I'm not able to go out there and help them out and play with them, on top of the fact that there's history, there's a lot there. So I think that was just an exertion of energy that Trent just happened to be in the area at the time, unfortunately. I sent him a text message, and I just told him during the moment I came back to him, I said, "Look, man, I'm sorry. I just had to get that out." And he's like, "I get it. And he knows, he understands. And so we had a good conversation about it. That's my guy, though.
What will the decision then be on Sunday, whether you play or not, or is it going to be yours, or what do you think is going to
I
happen?
don't know. I know Pete has a press conference coming up soon or eventually, so you have to ask him. I'm ready to go. Again, that's going to be their call. There's a lot of things that go into it. Obviously, the precautionary reasons of making sure that I'm healthy fully so that I can go for the rest of the season, not just this game. And I get that. But as a competitor and as somebody who hasn't missed games that often, who had an 89-game streak, I feel like I know my body pretty well. I feel like I'm ready to go.
You said you felt like they're holding you back. Do you feel like you have been ready before this?
No, I mean, it's a process, right? And knowing that I have a lot of mileage on my legs, knowing that I'm not 25 years old anymore, I take all that context into account when I'm making my decisions as well, right? And the process of getting my body to this point has been obviously a long process, but I know where I'm at. And of course, I have to tell Pete and anybody who asks me how confident I am. But that's just the truth. I mean, I think all of y'all know when I come up here, you're not going to get BS from me. I'm going to be honest with you. And I say the same thing to Pete and anybody else who asks me about my health. I'm ready to go. So, we'll see what happens. I think that we have a good plan in place, and I'm, willing to go with that. So we'll see what happens.
Obviously, you have a lot of faith in your teammates, but just what do you think the offense has been lacking without you up there? What do you think?
My ego would like to say a number of different things, but I'll hold that back for now. I think that overall it's just the uniqueness of the situation, right? So we have a lot of young guys, a lot of new guys to our system, and obviously Shadi being a new offensive coordinator here in Seattle, we're getting used to it, So it's going to take time. I know that there was a lot of frustration the first two games, and rightfully so, but I think it just takes time. And as you've seen the last game, we made a huge step, and I think that we'll continue to progress and get better as the year goes along.
Has the other knee had a chance to get any better at all by having to
The
sit
knee,
out there?
yeah, it's better, yeah.
And just in the Denver game, it looked like you got hurt, then came back in for a few plays, and then went out. I mean, did you not? I don't know. Was there something?
Yeah, I'm a savage. Just put it that way. No. I have to give my self-motivating talk like that every once in a while to make sure that, I remember who I am. And in that moment, it was one of those situations where, okay, Doug, look, it's messed up. We know it's messed up, but let's see what you can really do. And I knew it was a serious injury. But, just, again, being out for so long prior to that game, I wanted to do everything I could to go back in. And I did that, realized that it wasn't getting better, and so I had to pull myself, unfortunately. So, it's just the nature of the business, but the reasoning for going back out there was really just the competitive nature in my mind.
I know there was some internal issues there with him and the rest of the Players Coalition guys, but is it encouraging that Eric got signed today?
Absolutely. I mean, for any guys in the league who are looking for jobs, it's always encouraging when they do get a job because it's so there's so few of them, and so when guys across the league get jobs, it's always a good thing. Especially Eric, obviously, with all the controversy that's going around with taking a knee or whatever or demonstrating. So I thought it was something in a positive direction for sure.
You're surprised to see him get a job this year?
I wouldn't say surprised. I'm surprised it took this long. If I'm being quite honest, he's been a very productive safety in our league for a long time. So kind of surprising it took this long for him to get a job.
Doug, at the risk of bringing up bad memories, do you think at all about all of the crazy stuff that's happened at the stadium you're going to be playing at Sunday? The Super Bowl, the tie, the injuries last year?
No, didn't think about that at all. Not in correlation to the stadium, no.
Doug, you've been a pretty big supporter of you guys getting a running game going throughout the years, whether it's been with Marshawn or otherwise. To see what that group was able to do this last week, how much of a step forward can that be for what you guys want to do?
It's huge. I mean, again, you've heard me say it numerous times. And to me, the way that you win, you play championship football is you run the ball on offense, you don't turn it over, and you dominate on defense. And we were able to do that in this last game. I thought we did a heck of a job running the ball. I thought we had a great game plan going in. I thought it was consistent throughout, and then when we needed to make our plays on third down, we did that. And we did that at a high level, and obviously coming out with the victory made, it makes everything feel better. So I think that was a huge step in our progress, and again, we're going to continue to work on it, and we're going to get better going throughout the season.
You mentioned the plays on third down. Tyler had a bunch of those. Just how impressed have you been with him, especially kind of taking some of the role you would normally have?
Yeah, I can't say enough about Tyler, and I think that outside of football, just to get to this point, a lot of the emotional, physical battles that he's had to go through. The injury that he had a couple years ago was a very significant injury, and as you can imagine, it takes not only the time it takes to come back physically, but also there's some time to come back mentally and emotionally from that. And he's done a fantastic job at it. He's battled in every way that you can imagine. And he's going out there and he's dominating. He's playing at a very high level and he's having fun, which is the most important thing. He's having fun. And so I couldn't be more happy for him, proud of him, because he's developed into such a great leader for our team. And I'm looking forward to his progression just as a man overall in the future.
From Larry Fitzgerald. I know he's a completely different type of receiver, but
Yeah.
everybody's taken something from Fitz.
Man, what haven't I learned from Larry? Larry is he's the epitome of what a professional human being looks like, He brings his lunch pail to work every morning. He's very consistent. You can watch it on film. He's very consistent in how he attacks opposing defenses. He uses his body and his ability to perfection. And the closest to perfection as you can get. But he's also just very knowledgeable about the sport of football. But outside of that, he's just a great human being. I've had a number of opportunities to spend time with him, kind of pick his brain just about life, and he's a very unique individual. He's a very humble and thoughtful and considerate person. And he's gone through so many things in his life and has so much success, and for him to be at the level of humility that he is pretty impressive. This world that we live in is very tough to navigate at times, and he has done a marvelous job at it. And again, just can't say enough about Larry.
How's your progress with the King County Public Defender's Office and that with the company?
Well, the Public Defender's Office, they have been working diligently on a number of fronts, particularly in the cash bail system and trying to get that abolished for lower level misdemeanor nonviolent offenses. So we've been working with them more recently, more so than anything, but they're way ahead than where we've been. And so I'm just trying to get caught up and figure out where I fit in the grand scheme of things here in King County.
There's a clip Pete's mic'd up right before Tyler's touchdown on Sunday. He kind of could see it coming. Could you see that coming too?
His touchdown? Yeah, absolutely. So, again, when guys are on the sideline, everybody's locked into the game. So, two of our rookies, Alex Magoo and Caleb Scott, they didn't have to, but their assignment during the game was to figure out what the signals were for the opposing team. And so they knew the signals by that point in the game. And when we lined up, they were calling out what the defense was going to be in, the coverage they were going to be in. And I'm in my head thinking, okay, the outside guys have a chance to get open. And if you watch it, all three receivers were open. David Moore got open, Tyler got open, and Keenan Reynolds also got open. So it was just one of those situations that worked out perfectly for us. We could have scored a touchdown in either way.
With Keenan, how much do you talk to him about his military background and that experience, or have you talked to him about that?
Yeah, we've had a number of conversations. He's been very open and vulnerable with the receivers group. We've talked about his experience at the Naval Academy and just what all that entails and what that comes with, the pressure that comes with. And I think he's handled it pretty well. And he's told us some stories that are different, interesting. It makes for him just the character of the human being is really it's really broad. It's a different perspective than a lot of the guys in that room. So he brings a special element to our team, for sure.
I'm sorry, can you tell just by the way he carries himself that background, the military background?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you can tell when you talk to him. He's very on the details, and he expects a certain level, a certain standard from people that he interacts with, and which is great for our room because it sets a precedent, And I think that even though he's still young in the NFL and in NFL standards, he's a great leader already, and he's going to be a very pleasant presence for our team moving forward.
Has he told you that people will sometimes mistake him for you?
He has told me that. I think in Chicago, he said that something happened on the sideline. They kept yelling at him, Doug, 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 and he turned around and said, I'm Keenan.
That was
Yeah.
in Denver.
Oh, was
He
it
said-
Denver?
He said Pac-Man. He said he thinks
That was
Pac-Man
Denver, that's right.
jumped.
Yeah, that did happen.
Anything else? Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, guys.